Have you ever felt someone watching you, even though you were alone? That unnerving sensation, the prick of fear up your spine. What if it was more than a feeling? Perhaps it was a warning. Tonight, I welcome you to the Nightside Archive. Our story is called The Bone-Trembling Tale of Rebecca Mallory, and it begins in a small New England town during the early 1900s. Rebecca Mallory was an ordinary young woman. She had a sharp wit and a kindness that even the hardest hearts couldn't deny. Her smile often lit up the dim marine fog that would roll through the town. She worked at a library, filing away books that smelled of dust and old dreams. Her life was quiet, but filled with a sense of unspoken melancholy. People whispered about her, a woman too beautiful, too cheerful to linger in anonymity. The story truly begins one moonlit night. Rebecca had stayed late at the library, the echoes of her organizing steps bouncing against the musty walls. On her way home, beneath a cold, silvery sky, she decided to take a shortcut through the harbor. As stories go, this is the part where an air of doom comes uninvited. Howling winds sliced against Rebecca as she strolled the empty harbor streets. The fog swirled unnaturally thick, clinging to her ankles like it had its own twisted life. Suddenly, she stopped. A sound broke the night. Not a footstep or a bird's cry, but a low, guttural moan. It was faint at first, almost indistinguishable from the wind, but it was there, sending chills down her spine. She turned cautiously to look behind her, but she saw nothing except the endless fog. Rebecca thought it best to keep walking. Reaching the footbridge that divided the harbor from the forest beyond, another sound met her ears. The sharp clink of a shoe on cobblestones. Her heart raced as she turned sharply, expecting to meet the cold gaze of a stranger or a vagrant. But no figure loomed behind her. Instead, something far worse awaited. There, in the fog, stood a shadow. Not a shadow cast by any man, but one that whispered of something unearthly. It was tall, angular, with limbs bending in ways no human body should move. And though it had no distinguishable face, Rebecca sensed its eyes piercing her like blades. She froze. What could she do against such an uncanny presence? And then it spoke. A voice that reverberated like an echo from the deepest pit said her name. Rebecca. The sound seemed to suck the warmth and feeling out of her chest. Her legs betrayed her, jolting forward in a frantic sprint as she fled from the malevolent shadow. Rebecca burst into the woods, the gnarled branches above reaching out like skeletal fingers to snatch her. Running blindly, her lungs burned, and tears streaked her face. She tripped, catching her foot on a root sticking through the dirt. She fell hard, biting her lip, tasting the metallic tang of blood. When she looked up, desperate to resume her escape, Rebecca saw it again. The shadow stood motionless at the forest's edge, as if it were toying with her, savoring her fear. Its very presence seemed to bend the surrounding reality. Trees leaned closer, the stars dimmed, and the mist thickened like a living shroud. Then it hissed, "Take heed, Rebecca." Before she could scream, its grotesque limbs stretched outward, and in a blink, Rebecca was left staring at nothing but the encroaching mist. Rebecca stumbled home in a haze of fear and disbelief, unable to shake the creature's cryptic warning. The next morning, she attempted to dismiss the encounter as the creation of an overworked mind. But unease lingered. It festered. Days passed, turning into weeks. Rebecca told no one of what she'd seen, lest they think her mad. Yet, her disposition frayed. Once luminous and cheerful, her eyes grew dim and hollow. She ignored the whispering patrons at the library and the concerned gazes of her neighbors. When Rebecca finally confided in the town priest, his face darkened upon hearing her story. "A shadow that whispers of secrets it should not know," he muttered gravely. "Did it mark you, child?" Not comprehending his question, Rebecca peeled off her glove to reveal her untouched hand. But the priest nodded solemnly, insisting she attend Mass daily from thereforth. Terrified, but desperate for peace, she obeyed. For a while, the terror seemed to abate. Rebecca's nights were blissfully empty of shadowy horrors. She even began to smile again, though it did little to mask her dwindling nature. Yet the reprieve didn't last. One fateful night, as candlelight flickered on the library walls, Rebecca discovered something tucked inside an old, dusty tome. A silver locket, tarnished and eerie, engraved with her name. Her hands trembled as the locket clicked open. There inside sat a tiny inscription: "Beware, Hallows' Eve." Even as she stared at the words, she felt the air chill. Turning slowly, Rebecca saw it. The shadowy figure had returned, but now loomed mere feet away. "Your time wanes," it murmured. Rebecca's blood ran cold as the whisper enveloped her like a tangible force. The next day was Halloween, the dreaded Hallows' Eve. Rebecca Mallory was never seen again. Locals whispered that her soul had been stolen by the shadow. Despite searching the woods, the harbor, and every corner of the library, no trace of Rebecca was discovered. Yet her tale did not silence there. Every Halloween, residents claimed to see a young woman standing at the harbor's edge, her face pale, but unmistakably Rebecca's. Locals know better now than to explore the foggy harbor on Halloween night. As for the shadow, its curse lingers unbroken. Some believe Rebecca's fateful sprint into the woods caused her own redemption. Others think she fell victim to something far more terrifying. But one thing is clear: Rebecca's warning, her tragic tale, frozen like the locket, still echoes through the harbor whispers.